Joey Daccord got some pretty great news on his birthday. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Seattle hockey fans. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you your favorite team every single day. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken. I am also an accredited media member for the Milano-Cortina Olympics. And yes, that will come into play for today's episode. Want to let you know that today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel on the app today and start planning your futures bets now. Congratulations to Joey Daccord, among 44 players named to the Team USA Hockey orientation camp. We talked about the Canadian orientation camp. Hockey Canada actually named the orientation camp rosters for their para, women's, and men's teams all at the same time. We only got the men's for USA Hockey, but Joey Dax is on there. We're also going to hear from Joey Daccord and Philipp Grubauer, who is an Olympian for Team Germany, on the mental side of the game, and we'll close out the feature on Piper Shaw. This is all coming to you in our partnership with Tegna and King 5, because I am at the Amerigol Latam Cup here, and so we wanted to bring you an episode. And so we have these segments from our King community and wanted to use them now while I'm on the road. But you can probably hear my voice is a little shrill, so next week when we get back to the regularly scheduled program, let's go to an article that was written by Jeff Baker about the announcement. On his 29th birthday, that's when Team USA announced the 44 players that were invited to orientation camp happening in Plymouth, Michigan. And this is what we heard from Jason Bottrill. I think it's just amazing. It's very well deserved. It's great to see him being rewarded for going over to the World Championships and being part of a team that brings home gold. Then he talked about the bigger picture, a player that came from the Coachella Valley organization. He was also with the Charlotte Checkers, remember? And he says, it's great to see a player take those strides within our organization. It's great to see our coaches working with a player like that and see Joey's work ethic come through and be rewarded in this manner. Now, also, of course, in the article up on NHL.com/Kraken, Jeff Baker talks about who I just talked about, which, of course, is Philipp Grubauer, who is also Olympic bound. I should say it's worth noting Joey Daccord not officially on the Olympic team yet, but this is a step in the right direction, whereas Philipp Grubauer, we know, is going to Milano-Cortina. So this is what Daccord had to say about playing in Denmark with Team USA. It was insane. I had never played an international game before, and the international game is so much like soccer with flags and drums and chanting and singing the whole time. It was such a cool experience, he goes on to say, and to get the opportunity to wear the USA jersey for the first time, it was quite emotional for me, and I was just very grateful to be there and to try to take it all in. It truly meant the world to be a part of. Honestly, my first time getting to play for Team USA and then to go win the whole tournament and be a part of it and contribute, and to get so close with a group of guys, most of whom I'd never met before in such a short time, was really just special and unique. It was thrilling, honestly. We're so excited for you, Joey Daccord. The 44 players, I will say, with regard to the Seattle Kraken, does not include Matty Beniers. He was also at that tournament, the aforementioned tournament, but on the forward side, names like Boldy, Cooley, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Frank Nazar, Brock Nelson, Shane Pinto, Jason Robertson, Brian Russ, Tage Thompson, Brady Tkachuk, and then defenseman Brock Faber, Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Jacob Slavin, Alex Vlasic, Charlie McAvoy, Seth Jones is another name I'll be looking out for. Daccord is named along with Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Swayman. All 23 players who were part of the U.S. men's national team in the February Four Nations face-off outside of Matthew Tkachuk are going to be at camp. So there you go. It was the Four Nations feeder more so than the World Championships. Again, that's where Joey Dax came from, but no Matty Beniers. So we talked about the top five. I've been ranking the top five. I still think Matty Beniers is a top five Kraken and like high up there for us. But we also have been talking on the show about, can the Seattle Kraken have a player crack our top 100 list, which is coming up for the Locked On Kraken, for the Locked On NHL network. Locked On Kraken is a part of that. And I've told you that Joey Daccord probably has the best chance because of how he's been playing. Will this nod for USA Hockey once again push over the edge? I guess we'll see. But Joey Daccord has some pretty good numbers when it comes to goaltending throughout the league. So you know where my vote stands. But I will be in Milano-Cortina, whoever makes Team USA or any of the other rosters. I will definitely be tapping in to all connections Kraken and PWHL Seattle because, of course, the women's tournament will be going on as well. Coming up, though, as I said, with my voice a little hoarse and my schedule all over the place, even more so than usual, to some of the Kraken home ice features that were run by the King 5 network. And that will include Joey Daccord and Philipp Grubauer talking about mental health from the goalie perspective, as well as a feature on Piper Shaw. That's coming up on Locked On Kraken. Today's episode, as I mentioned at the top of the show, brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champion before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and get started planning your futures bets now. I've told you all about futures bets. I look at them for the NHL side, so maybe we'll have a FanDuel Futures Day for the NHL season as well. But I love the futures bets. I love looking at those. Remember, visit that FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination, your first listen of the day, your midday listen, or your late night listen. As promised.
For goaltenders in the NHL, there's always a pressure to perform. Piper Shaw talked to the Kraken goalies about maintaining their mental health.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing that any goalie will tell you is the mental side of it. The mental game is the number one thing. I've listened to a lot of interviews and stories and podcasts about all these different kinds of athletes, tennis players, football players, etc. And they just talk about the mental battle. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. When you look at us when we're in the net, and I would say most of the time we look pretty calm, we look pretty composed, but there's a lot going on up there, and we're just, for me personally, I can't speak to everyone else, but I think it's pretty similar for most guys. We're trying our best, we're working as hard as we can. If it doesn't go our way and we give up a bad goal or whatever it may be, we're just as frustrated as the fans are. So, I think that's something that's pretty interesting. I watch a lot of other sports. You watch soccer team play or whatever, see someone make a mistake. It's well, he didn't mean to. He was trying his best, and I think that's something that's kind of funny sometimes to think about because, hey, there's probably fans that are doing that to me when I make a mistake, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm just trying my best out here. I want them to stop it too. So that's something that people probably don't think of when we're in there. But I would say it's probably a lot of the same in terms of mentality.
Yeah, a couple of different things. Obviously mental health is a big topic, and I think it has been buried in the past, and it's coming more to life, and there's more people speaking out, more people going to therapy, talking about what's going on in their life. I think one really helpful thing is for me to go to the barn and be with my horses or be with my horse, and just to put that aside, also talk to somebody. That always helped me in the past. Yeah, it's pretty tough during the season. Not a lot of time to do that, but yeah, at the barn with my dog, just going on hikes, go fly fishing once in a while, stand in the river, just enjoy the remoteness, the nature. I think that always is pretty good for my head, and I'm going to definitely keep that going over the season.
I think it's something that's super important. It's something that I've focused on a lot as I've gotten deeper into my professional career. I think the coolest thing about it is it's such an openly discussed topic now. It used to be kind of taboo, and now it's much more out in the forefront. And I think it's really important because that is the number one thing, right? We do play hockey. I am a hockey player, but at the end of the day, I'm a person. I think for me, I'm just trying to be the best person that I can before a hockey player. And I think that, you know, when I'm in the right headspace off the ice, that really helps me translate to on the ice. So, you know, I've worked with sports psychologists, I meditate, I do journaling. There's lots of, I read books on, you know, mental health and stories of other athletes, etc. So I think that's something that's really important, and a lot of younger athletes and people can lean into. And I think as you get older, you understand how beneficial it is more. I think it's one of the fascinating things is when you're in the NHL arena and there's 20,000 people and the place is going nuts and there's bright lights flashing and loud music. An hour later, I'm just like sitting on my couch, and yeah, it's just silent, and there's a Netflix show on, and it's just so like there's the opposites are pretty crazy sometimes. So it definitely takes some time to wind down after games.
Why do you think mental health can be a touchy topic in the hockey world?
That's a good question. I think that's a really layered topic. I think for so long, even just men, let alone hockey, I think it's just been you always got to like act tough and act like nothing's wrong and act like you're okay. And I think there is a time for that, so there's a time when it's like, hey, I got to be tough here, but there's also a time to recognize, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and understanding that it's okay to be open about it and talk about it. And so you don't have to broadcast to the whole world if you don't want to, but it can be a friend, it can be a family member, teammate, whoever it may be, therapist, and just talking about it can really help you benefit in a lot of different ways. And I think for a long time there was I'm not sure what the right word is, but yeah, stigma about just having to bottle it all up and keep it to yourself. And I'm really glad that that's kind of changing.
Well, hockey is always tough when you look at it. Don't show any emotions, don't show any pain, injuries you have to any opponents or teammates. You always gotta be strong and act like that. So I think over the last 5-6 years, it loosened up and people realized, hey, it's actually a big thing. You train your body, you work out, but you also have to work out on train your mind as well. And we've seen over the past with concussions and a lot of other stuff, depression, that it can take a different route pretty quick. So I think more teammates, if they see something is wrong, they will speak out and try to find help for your teammate.
Glad that the stigma is going away. But you also heard that interview conducted by Piper Shaw. Let's get to know her a little bit better coming up on today's episode. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's a game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you can save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. A lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I have used Game Time to buy tickets to a Little Dragon concert in Seattle. I've used the app to buy tickets to M's games, and I do use the Seat from the View feature. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, wanted to give you some news at the top. Also, we have to talk about giveaways. The giveaway schedule is out. Some fun things, bobbleheads, a gravy boat, some other things we'll talk about. Wanted to talk about Joey Daccord. We knew we were going to talk about that, especially because I will be in Milano-Cortina. So if Joey makes that team, oh baby, I get to go to 2 straight Olympics with Kraken representation on Team USA. But we already know Philipp Grubauer will be there, hoping both Joey and Philipp an otherwise season for the Kraken and for their national teams. In Joey's case, should he make the cut. But we have more episodes of Locked On Kraken coming, so stay tuned right here. Thanks as always. A reminder to be kind to yourself. Thanks as always for tuning in. A reminder to be kind to yourself so you can extend that graciousness to others. We hold fast, we stay true, and loud and proud we say, let's go. And make your next listen the Women's Hockey Report that lives on the Locked On NHL channel, hosted by yours truly, Erica L. Ayala, alongside Rachel Dunner. Until the next episode, peace out, everybody.
Piper Shaw has been telling the stories of the Kraken since their inaugural season. But her hockey journey started long before the Kraken became a franchise.
Hockey-loving St. Cloud, Minnesota is where Piper Shaw's journey with the sport began.
Hello, everyone. I am Piper Shaw outside the Kraken's locker room.
She has made a name for herself as the Kraken Hockey Network's ringside reporter. But in a sort of way, hockey chose her. Hockey is the whole culture of St. Cloud, and it became a huge part of Piper's life from a very young age.
Hockey started for me just in my community. St. Cloud is such a hockey town. Everybody plays it. All my friends had rinks in their backyard. So, after we would go watch varsity football games in middle school, we would go play boot hockey in the backyard ponds.
When she was 15 or 16, Piper knew she wanted to be a broadcaster.
I was like, what kind of jobs can I have where every day I'm spending time listening, talking about current events, researching, writing, presenting ideas.
Her first TV job post-college was in news, but the hockey-loving Minnesotan quickly found her way back to the rink.
Do you think it paid off to shoot over and over and over in the garage like you did as a kid?
I just had the opportunity, and it was in hockey, and it was in college hockey, which I'd had experience in. So I was like, let's go.
The full circle moment eventually led her to the Pacific Northwest. Shaw knew she wanted to be a member of the Deep even before the Kraken was officially announced.
I specifically targeted wanting to work for this team, before they even had a name.
Piper's first role with the team, hosting the 2021 expansion draft at Gasworks Park.
It's so cool now when we have players that have milestones, and seeing this year putting the C on Jordan Eberle's chest. I remember when I met him that very first day and just kind of seeing the growth of even players like Matty Beniers. When they drafted him that fall, I went to Michigan and I interviewed him when he was playing at the University of Michigan.
Are there any other guys on the team that maybe you're excited to play with?
Piper is passionate about telling the stories of the Kraken players, coaches, and community.
I think one of the most undeniable, aspects of this organization is how much they care about the identity of the brand in the community and just the community in general, and leaving an impact that's not just about the team on the ice.
When she's not on KHN, she's co-hosting the Signals from the Deep podcast with JT Brown, and in her rare off time, she unwinds with music.
A freedom I never know.
I love music, so I will sometimes after games like go home and play my guitar until 1 a.m. and just write and just express in that way.
The most rewarding part of her job is living out her storyteller dream.
If you're working almost, in broadcast, you're a mouthpiece in a way. Being able to use that for good is such a privilege and also a responsibility, and it's one that I cherish and take very seriously.
The players' lives might revolve around hockey, but they are big fans of other sports as well. In this week's Shootout, we asked them, if you didn't play hockey, what other sport would you play?
Probably tennis player, maybe soccer, one of the two.
Lacrosse. Either golf or F1.
Golf, for sure. Yeah, probably a standard answer here.
Oh, tennis. Soccer. Right now, I've been watching tennis, and that's going on in Indian Wells, so everyone's sort of into tennis right now.
Baseball and golf. I went to college to play baseball and hockey. Quickly became just hockey, but I would love for it to be baseball.